Good morning. We'll call this meeting to order, if we could, for the legislative session number 2017-05 on March 2nd, 2017. Those who like to join and stand up and join us in the Lord's Prayer and Pledge of Allegiance, please do. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're pleased to see such a large group here today. For everyone's reference, this is a meeting that the council called to have a discussion with the volunteers that have declared that they want to separate from Station 1. The idea of this is simply for the county council as a whole to be brought up to date, exactly what the circumstances are. We're very interested in seeing what the circumstances are. We're looking to see if any of this were to develop, what the sustainability might be. We're really not, as a county council, we don't have any intentions of getting involved in the middle of what we consider also to be a city matter, where you have city volunteers and where you have city paid staff, city administration, and volunteers working with the city. Our primary focus is just to talk to the individuals to see exactly what is occurring, in case there's any such type of funding that might be necessary should anything come to fruition. No matter what the circumstances might be said on, informally, the county council is not aware of any funding commitments being made on the part of the county for any type of a separate individual organization. I'm not so sure that this organization is really asking for any funding, but we just simply wanted to make sure to stay ahead of the curve and to find out exactly what the circumstances might be. Today, we're not making any decisions of funding or support. It's simply a work session to see where we are and to see what's happening. So that, with that being said, this is a work session. I know that Mr. Polidor, you certainly have agreed to this opportunity. I wasn't sure who else would be coming to the table, whether there was one or two others that were going to be coming with you. So at the time, if you could come forward, and then we could begin the discussion.
I'll take it.
Mr. Polidor here? Excuse me?
Yes, I'm Polidor.
Sorry?
Polidor.
I couldn't understand.
I'm Corey Polidor.
Sorry, Corey, I didn't recognize. Sorry. I know we've had conversations. I apologize. Was there anyone else that you wanted at the table?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Could you give your name and address?
Yes. Corey Polidor, 800 Colony Drive, Salisbury, Maryland, 21804.
Good to have you here today. If you could start, I guess, by giving the council sort of an overview of what the volunteers, what your position would be as far as if you were to choose to go through with your commitment for July 1st, what you would see as the station volunteers, how you would establish that station, and what would be involved in that?
Yes, sir. So the corporation in itself is a separate entity of the Salisbury Fire Department. We're an independent private corporation that's recognized by the Wicomico County Firemen's Association, the Maryland State Firemen's Association, and as such, the Wicomico County Fire Chiefs Association. We're essentially, the way that the agreement works is that we will, in order to volunteer in the city, there is a city code that applies in which we have to follow the code, and they'll provide certain items for us, turnout gear, building maintenance, and we will, in exchange, provide volunteers and funding as necessary, as we've deemed necessary per se. Due to issues that have occurred that went unaddressed for over a year to 2 years now, the meeting with the city and city fire chief, kind of things just never seemed to get addressed. We did meet several times over the past 2 years, and things were never actually addressed that we had concerns about. So meeting directly with them over several years about issues that kept accumulating never seemed to work. And as such, the corporation requested to go to a formal mediation to bring in a neutral party to kind of mediate our concerns and see if we could come to an agreement. Some of the issues dealt with the appointment of a volunteer deputy chief by city officials, and the volunteers were seeking to be able to appoint or elect, or essentially vote, a volunteer deputy chief that met all the credentials. Essentially, the city would say, you can choose from these three, and the three corporations would be able to pick. And what that does is, ultimately it allows the volunteer deputy chief that represents the three corporations to be able to represent them and not put somebody in that position that the corporation may not want representing them because they have no say in such. So that was the idea of that, and that person was still to fall under the chain of command, under the fire chief. It wasn't to step above him or beside him. It was still to fall under the chain of command. But it's hard for an appointed official to actually represent a corporation in what they want when they're appointed by their boss, because that can be removed at any point in time. So we found that to be a conflict of interest of what we wanted as a volunteer corporation. There were other issues coming into finances, which in your folders you'll find the letters that our attorney sent over to the city when we were requesting a formal mediation and all of our financial concerns as it pertained. The rumors that we had an issue with 4 additional, well, it's not rumors, no, it's the statements that the city has made that we had issues with 4 additional career staffing is completely inaccurate. There were no issues at all with that, and in our letters, you can clearly see that that's not what this is about. This is separate from career staffing. This is an administrative incorporation that needed to come to a mediation to work out concerns that we were expressing. So when the city denied such mediation and said to go direct with informal direct communication through the chain of command or with the city administrator, that they would not go to formal mediation at all. It was out of the question for us. That the corporation said that we tried. We've gone direct with them several times. That's why we wanted to do something different. The whole, per se, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, we decided to change something in there, and that was mediation. It was rejected. As such, the corporation had made a motion and seconded and voted to separate from the city effective July 1st, 2017 at 0700 hours. And that passed on the floor. The withdrawal recognition of volunteer services from the city references nothing about the volunteers wanting to separate from the city. It only references the withdrawal recognition from the city standpoint of letting the volunteers know. And I've got that code also in the folder there. highlighted. And what it states in there is that they have to give us a 30-day notice if they wish to withdraw our recognition of volunteers from the city. And as such, we also get a chance to go to, within that 30-day, after delivery of that notice, we have 30 days to vacate. And within 45 days of that notice, we get to go before the city council and discuss everything and present our case. There's nothing in there that says that the volunteers have to give any formal notice. We gave over 4 months' notice to separate from the city. Not required to. Gave more than what the city would even give us. And as such, things went downhill very fast that evening and the next day. So there have been several press releases from both sides, and they're all in your folder as well if you happen to miss any of those. Since the announcement Wednesday night that the Station 1 Salisbury Fire Department Inc. Company Number 1 was going to be separating from the city, there's been a lot of movement forward. Our attorney's been working with us as well. We are already in the process of working on the financing for apparatus. We have a lease agreement with an option to purchase that is going to be finalized on Monday. And pending everything this week, everybody has been fitted for turnout gear, and that'll also be placed as well. The funding for all of this, there is a budget in there that addresses funding issues. Publicly, this time I don't want to release any of our personal funding, like what we currently have in the bank or any donations that we have received recently. As far as volunteer status, the statement that 10 members had resigned from the city, nobody has resigned from the Salisbury Fire Department. I was an assistant chief at Station 1. I resigned at 1900 hours on that Wednesday night last week. But I resigned as an assistant chief and not as a member of the SFD. So the city's release statement of that is inaccurate because nobody resigned. Nobody submitted any resignations to the city whatsoever. Clearly highlighted in those press releases and the emails there, you will see where we have mentioned multiple times that we intended on continuing providing services to the city and the citizens of such until July 1, 0700 hours in 2017. Since then, we've been denied that opportunity since then, where we're not able to get into the building. We're not being alerted. The locks were changed. Our key fobs are shut down. Our emails are gone. Everything's gone. And when inquiring about that, we have not had a full response yet as to what the stance of the city is. There's been no formal notification to vacate. And so we're just sitting there, and it just kind of reinforces what the conditions that sometimes you can be privy to. So we are moving forward with everything until told otherwise, with signing the lease agreement and getting the financing and everything situated.
How many staff members do you think you have currently?
It's not to think. In the folder there also, there's it breaks it down in firefighters, EMTs, paramedics, drivers, how many live within a 2-mile radius of the location that we're looking at right now. And currently we have 40 members, 39 of which have Fire 1 and Hazmat Ops minimum requirements with NIMS ICS 100-700, which would make it an NFPA.
You have 40 members that have signed on.
Yes. Yeah.
Are they?
40 total. So we've gained actually. We've only lost formally. We've lost 3 members. Informally, we believe 2 more. So a total of 5. But we've gained over 14 members, and we have 3 other applications pending right now. All of which already have all the training.
So you have 58 pending, or
No,
I'm confused.
Total, so we currently have 40 total.
Right.
40 total volunteer members.
Okay.
Right now with 3 pending, so we'll put it at 43.
Okay. And as far as any type of EMS service?
So utilizing some money that we already currently have, we were going to go ahead and start that July 1 as everything would roll out. We are, like I said, we're working in financing for 2 engines and a tanker and a medic unit. 2 medic units, actually. Just the second one is more of a backup BLS unit.
So you're going to have what equipment? I'm sorry. What?
An engine,
Yeah.
That's a brand-new engine.
Right.
And the specs are in that folder. A used engine as a backup engine, still within a 20-year range. And a tanker that's used, minimum of 2,000 gallons.
Right.
And 2 medic units, both used. So I'm sorry, 2 ambulances. One will be a ALS equipped, the other one will be BLS equipped.
Okay. I guess the question would be what those costs would be and what you're anticipating.
Yes, I had that
Expenses
broke
to
down
be-
in the budget in there. I believe it's towards the back. Now, there's a layover, of course, because October 1st is when county fundings are completed for us. So we would actually be funding July, August, and September for the payroll and as such. So payroll for a paramedic and a driver EMT. There's also in there the breakdown on the response area of the county territory that's allocated as station company number 1 there, and the calls for fire and EMS response and transports as it relates for 2016.
So you have the expectation to serve that territory then?
That is the expectation. We would like to be able to continue to serve the county citizens. We've been serving this area since 1986. We'd like to continue to provide those volunteer services to the county with no additional costs of the county.
It's my understanding that, that issue is tied up with the fire service agreement, that's something that, the Fire Chiefs Association, as well as the county and city government, have to agree to. Is that your understanding?
I don't want to take a position on that, to be honest. I think that is all being hashed out. I can only say what I've read on the county executive's release, which is that territory will be handled as a Fire Chiefs Association, but I can't take a stance as far as what the Fire Chiefs Association will and won't do.
Well, I guess my question then is, what if, you don't have that territory to serve?
It's a big what if.
Okay. Right. That's, because we're, you mentioned about that you want, you expect county money. I guess that was, what you kind of said.
We're already funded on the fire side. As such, the EMS allocation that goes to the city that is for the county side of that will just be reallocated like the rest of the volunteer companies within the county.
Well, I think you maybe see we're trying to get up to speed on this. This happened and we were all very surprised by this. So we've not, we don't know anything about allocation, this, that, or the other. And, if there's obviously, I think the county only wants to give money to, companies that have an area to serve and things like that. And so if there's not an area, that you can see our,
Oh, absolutely.
kind of our confusion.
Yes, sir.
I have a
There.
question.
Sure.
First, I'm going to apologize that we, as a body, really weren't privy to information of any previous discussions, so this caught us by surprise. We didn't know that you were discussing your future with anyone. Do you think 40 members is enough to handle calls? Because I know there are some departments in the county that have like 70, 75 members on the roster, and they're struggling.
Sure, absolutely. So, and I don't want to speak for any corporation or any company within the county or speak on their behalf. Some of those numbers are active and some are inactive members. All of these are active members.
So you're saying that you would be able to respond calls as volunteers with no paid fire, career fire?
For the fire side, yes, sir. On EMS, we would have a paid paramedic with a paid EMT.
It's something Chief Hoppus sent us about the response rate.
Yes, sir.
Did you touch on that?
So the response rate, the city was releasing a 50.1% failure rate. To address that, I actually included an NFPA 1720, which deals with response times for volunteer companies. And in a rural area, let's pull that out real quick. Sorry, not a rural area. In an urban area, with a population of greater than 1,000 people in 1 square mile, the requirement to be on scene with staff for a fire is 9 minutes, 15 personnel, 90% of the time. That 9-minute benchmark is, statistics can easily be manipulated, as anybody knows. That 9-minute benchmark is not what's utilized from what we have been informed in the past, unless something has changed, which is as recent as 3 months ago. That 9-minute benchmark isn't what's measured on that 50.1% failure rate. They utilize a 4-minute response time for the volunteers, and the statement is that it takes 5 additional minutes to get anywhere in your first due, regardless of if we got out the door at 5 minutes and we were on scene at 5 minutes and 15 seconds there at the school across the street, it's still considered a failure. The NFPA standard is a 9-minute response time on scene, 15 personnel.
I have to be honest with you that when I see a 51% failure rate, that throws up a big flag. And I would hate for the executive to say, you can do this, and then there's a failure.
Absolutely.
And then we're standing there looking, what are we going to do?
So as I said earlier, we have gained actually significantly in volunteer members active. The location we're looking at has 4 members that work or live right there that are usually there anytime during the day. When you break down the county calls of Station 1 within the county, you're looking at about 406 responses for fire service. Of those, I think it was 100 and of those, it's 124 that are a medical assist. That doesn't include any of the cardiac arrest or delayed ambulance responses. That total 406 includes that. The 124 is separate from that. A lot of times they were self-dispatched medical assist. If you say that 50% of those were actual needed medical assist, you're looking at about 1 call per day, around 365 calls a year. Very manageable. EMS-wise, 843 total responses within that area in 2016. Of those, 607 were transported.
What district is it that you would be requesting?
It is the Station 1, it's the company's county territory. It's nothing with the city area at all.
Would that include Parkside High School?
Yes, sir.
And would you have the facilities to maintain fire service at Parkside High School if a fire were to occur on August the 1st?
If a fire were to occur at Parkside High School August the 1st, their mutual aid agreements would need to be established prior to all this, in which everything is in the works. From the attorney's side, he's actually drafting things to approach. Nobody has been approached with it as of yet. But the county companies usually work very well with each other.
If there's a certain degree of animosity between your organization and the city of Salisbury, or if this creates any type of animosity, maybe that might compromise any type of mutual agreement, mutual aid agreement. And what position might that put you in, and what position might that put the district in?
I think that position would actually deal with the city taxpayers when it comes to voting time.
But I mean for county property.
As far as
I'll say the school. I'll say Parkside High School. If you did not have a mutual aid agreement, and the district would be established for your area, what measures would you be able to take to as assurances that your company could handle that?
Well, if there was a fire to occur at Parkside High School, which is a sprinkler building, sprinklers would usually keep that in check. But if not, per se, the mutual aid agreements that we've established with the surrounding companies, even if the city decided not to, would be that we would hope to establish with the surrounding companies. Now, let me say that. So, would be able to handle that. Those companies can handle large incidents.
Okay. I asked that because some other concerns, because we received a lot of emails on this.
Yes, sir.
A lot of these, as you can expect. And a lot of the concerns also outside of safety, some of the concerns were also expressed regarding insurance. The fact that some people were concerned that if they lived in that particular area, that their insurance rates might go up because I believe it's the ISO rating. Is that what they refer to?
Yes, sir.
Could increase. What would your response be to that?
My response to that is that currently, if the city, that station that is sitting on Beagle and Park Drive is already, it's staffed 24 hours a day, and I'm appreciative for it, and I know that the members are. There's nothing, this isn't about staffing at all. It's just separate issues that we're addressing here. They're staffing that 24 hours a day. If the city decides not to do a mutual aid agreement with the company, well, that's what's going to affect the ISO rating, because right now we're looking to improve the ISO rating by providing additional personnel, water, and apparatus on scene in hopes that a mutual aid agreement will be established and it'll still be coming. Anytime that a fire goes out in the county, you have a 3-station response. Within the city, they do a 4-station.
Okay. Joe?
I
You
see,
get that microphone too.
I see you've got a building in here from a real estate agency that you've been looking at.
Yes, sir.
It's just basically an office building, it's not a fire station.
To the left of that building there at 802 is a half-acre lot that appears to be available to build a 100 by 50-foot pole building with 4 bays. That'll be heated.
Would that be sufficient to hold your equipment?
Yes, sir.
I see when you got your expenses and your income listed, you have a lease payment down. What is that lease payment for?
That's for the property. That's
for
the building and the property combined.
So you plan on buying it or leasing it?
It's a lease with option to purchase. With the
Lease.
initial investments and everything, it's the conservative approach to it.
Do you really think you can operate this firehouse at $500,000 a year? And that's what you've got down here as a total?
Yes, sir.
You really do? Okay. You said there was 40 members signed on.
Yes, sir.
Are those 40 members from Station 1? Did they leave Station 1 to sign on with you, all 40 of them, or?
Nobody has resigned.
Okay, I understand you said that. Yes, excuse me. Let me rephrase that then. Is those 40 members now of Station 1 that are going to leave and come with the new station if you form one?
Yes, sir.
So they
So
all-
some of them are members that are coming back that were no longer part of the department. Some of them are from other departments within the city, and the rest were already there at the time.
I see this building you're looking at is in the county. It's not in the city.
Yes, sir.
Is that in your service area?
Yes, sir.
It's still in your service area, okay. I think that's it for right this minute. I might think of something else. Thank you.
On what you've given us with this $567,000, could you explain, if you could, on a line item basis, where this income, where you're acquiring this income, the fire fund, the EMS fund, et cetera?
Yes, sir.
Thanks. If you want a cup, we have cups up here too.
I appreciate it. Got any sandwiches back there?
Yeah, we do.
Turkey sandwich.
We have a turkey sandwich.
Look at that. Better than the hospital. Income-wise, so looking at the fire fund of what's allocated to the volunteer fire companies in Wicomico County is approximately $100,000 yearly if approved by the council. The EMS fund is what is allocated. Now, we currently not receive that. That is what is, actually it's a little bit more than that is what's sent over to the city for that purpose. But the remaining volunteer fire companies receive that total there $155,000 a year to assist with the staffing of the ambulance with a paramedic and to assist with running the ambulance itself. EMS billing revenue, where those calls are the only calls that are call volume that I put on there as far as transport goes, that is just within Station 1 or Company 1's county territory. That doesn't include any mutual aid response or any, so going to other jurisdiction or anything, they need another unit to respond. So that doesn't include any of that billing. And that's where the $200,000 sits is EMS billing based on the call volume in 2016. Expecting it to also increase, but I did not even offer a buffer for that.
Is that a rate of billing, or might that be a rate of,
That should be
the
a
number-
rate of
the
return
number
based on
collected?
Medicare.
Does that include the collection rate?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
The Lacey Fund is a private trust fund that was set up that we received the donation from that on a quarterly basis. It's approximately $30,000. The 508 money is utilized for apparatus and gear. That is $19,000. Expect about $10,000 donation as we're already receiving inquiries in that. And we do receive quite a few donations throughout the year. Fundraising efforts at $25,000, and the sinking fund, which is essentially like a matching fund that's utilized from the county, issues that out for apparatus and gear as well. Brings the total to $567,000 in income. That doesn't include the potential of next year's staffing for EMT either.
So a good part of this funding that you're anticipating would depend on county funding as well.
Yes, the additional county funding is that $155,000 that's currently allocated to the city to cover that county territory.
Okay, understood.
Other than that, everything else is already present
Okay.
with us.
Have you been told that you're going to receive that money, or are you just expecting that?
That's what we're trying to work the kinks out and everything.
What's that mean?
So as far as the EMS, the allocation of that EMS funding is to cover that county territory. And each volunteer company that covers the county territory with their EMS unit receives that allocation from the county.
I mean, was that something you were told that was going to happen, or is that?
No, it's just included in there right now as this is what we're looking at.
Okay.
So you had no discussion with anyone on that funding?
To promises or anything of that nature? No, sir.
No discussion.
As far as?
You asked anyone in the administration if that would be available?
No, I've not spoken with
We
administration.
don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, we'd never know year to year. Yes, sir.
And I have a question since you mentioned that Lacey Fund. Are you going to be able to collect the Lacey Fund?
Yes, we have the documents for the Lacey Fund in which the corporate name is not changing. And the corporate name is what is tied to the Lacey Fund. And it was changed in, they addressed the issue back in 1996 where they wanted to change the name. The attorney at that time took a look at everything and decided that, yep, it could be changed with the agreement of all three corporations, and later on it was.
So
it's
you would
all-
have to get the agreement from the other two
if we were to try to
corporations.
change our corporation name, yes, in which we're not going to change our corporation name. So it should not affect the funding of the Lacey
So are
Fund.
you guaranteed to get that $30,000?
As far as,
I know it's a tough
to,
question.
no. To my knowledge, yes. Unless there's some backdoor that somebody pulls, then yes, to my knowledge, from all the documents that I've gone through.
This is, again, this is all new, so I'm just thinking through something here.
Yes, sir.
We're going to be getting the budget in, a month and a half or so, maybe. We usually get it in April, and we have to approve it beginning of June, basically. And so, obviously you have ambitious plans here, and it's dependent upon, I think, the city agreeing to give up some territory in the fire service agreement, possibly. I mean, I'm not sure how that all works. That's something we have to figure out, and mutual aid agreements, that stuff takes time. It's, just the timing. Like, let's say everything you wanted works out. It's going to take a lot of time to, I would think, figure all that stuff out. We're coming up on a June 1st deadline for figuring this money stuff out, and you're counting on, roughly half your budget is from county sources. A little bit less than half. So, you just kind of, from just a pure funding perspective, from our end of the table, that this is a tough fit. I mean, I'm just so you're aware of from the council's perspective, kind of what I'm thinking through in terms of just budget process and timing. So.
The only additional money from the county that the corporation does not receive right now is the EMS fund. That's it. Everything else is we already received from the county.
I believe, though, as a clarification, you're receiving that under the same structure as working within the confines of the Salisbury Fire Department as well. I mean, you're saying that the 100, I guess you're referencing the 100,000, as if that is something that would stay with your company, whether you're working in cooperation with the Salisbury Fire Department or whether you were separated from the Salisbury Fire Department.
So the the funding itself is provided to the volunteer companies within Wicomico County is
Right.
what that's approved for.
Right.
So the check actually does come to the corporation,
Understood.
essentially we're a piggyback from them and how that's done.
Right. Well, what I was getting at was the fact that this money, there really are, there are no restrictions on this when we issue the checks, but it, I believe, has been presented with the understanding that this group was working with the Salisbury Fire Department itself, and there could be reservations if this money were being separated out for an independent company. And I'm trying to be frank with you.
Sure.
Simply based on the fact that there are going to be, and part of the reason for this meeting is that we already have, citizens in that area that are saying, what's going on? What's going to happen to my fire service? Is the county going to support these efforts? And if you do support these efforts, is my protection, is my fire service protection going to improve? Is it going to stay the same, or is it going to be worse? So I believe that, with the 100,000 or the 155,000, the county would have to look much more closely as to what we feel the return on that investment is going to bring forward.
Absolutely.
Okay. Joe.
Going back to the $100,000, you said that the 155 goes to the city for EMS service.
It's a
correct?
little more than that, actually,
Yeah.
that they've received.
Okay, the 100,000, do you have access to that 100,000 now from last year? I mean, is that what you're funding your process on now as far as getting fitted for uniforms and what the work you're doing now is forming a new company, or is this money already gone to the city from last year?
It's a good question. And
Joe always asks good questions.
yeah, there you go.
They say I'm supposed to know the answer to every question I ask, but I don't, so.
The treasurer would have that answer, and I truly don't have that answer. What is county, what is donation, what is Lacey Fund, what is Stamp Drive, and
Well, the
funding.
money that you're spending now, you're
No-
spending
No
money.
money has been spent yet.
You said that guys are being fitted for uniforms and
The turnout gear has been sized, and
been a lawyer
the-
hired.
nothing-
There's money there being spent.
for what's that?
An attorney, you've hired an attorney?
Private. That's all private donations.
Okay. All right.
Well, I don't want to say that because I'm not sure where the funding is actually coming out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to speak on behalf of the corporation about that. So I retract that statement.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Larry?
Okay.
Yeah,
That's all for now.
I just want to make it clear that I've got a long-time relationship with the Salisbury Fire Department. I retired from their career, fire captain, paramedic, worked out at all stations, worked with the volunteers. I had the utmost respect for every volunteer in this county, and I can't condemn anyone for wanting to do something different. I really can't, but this really, it does hurt me, and it hurts a lot of people to see this happen, and I really wish you wouldn't do it. But my intent is to ask questions and to grill you, not to be mean.
No, but if
But-
I may, it was
Can
a
I finish
corporate decision.
Before I forget?
Yes, sir.
But I represent a lot of people in your fire district. And they're going to expect answers. And I really plan, if this goes forward, I really plan on having a town hall meeting. And I'm going to ask you to be present. I might ask somebody from the city to be present.
Absolutely.
But they deserve answers. And that's why we're asking these questions. We're not asking these to be mean to you. You gave us a big envelope here with a lot of information that we haven't even had time to digest yet. And we want to make sure that if a decision's made, whether somebody makes it for us, can the fire service and EMS be guaranteed to the citizens that we represent? And I hope you understand, and I'm not trying to be mean to anybody in this room.
Yeah, absolutely. No, your task as a councilman, you're elected in a position that has ensured the safety and the quality of life within the county meets the needs of the residents within the county. And we're the neighbors, we're friends, we're family, and we all live together within the same community that most of you do as well. And we're just still ready to keep giving back.
Well, and to Larry's point is that, again, like you say, our highest goal is ensuring quality service for every resident of Wicomico County. And, secondarily, making sure that the taxpayers get the best value for their money. I mean, you know, Larry represents this district. I don't think I represent any of the Station 1 district. But, you know, we all have a concern, no matter whose district it is, that the quality of service they receive doesn't suffer. And, you know, secondarily, the taxpayers are not, you know, funding something that in the end may falter or, you know, may not have, you know, it's going to be very hard to fund a volunteer company that doesn't have territory. I mean, you know, that I don't know the whole history of the firefighter funding, but I mean, I think the last volunteer, I mean, Allen was set up, you know, was it 40 years ago? I think it was, you know, I think that may have been the last one. And, you know, I think the money follows having a territory and things like that. And so I think you can kind of see where, you know, again, these are just questions. We're not trying to counsel you guys or anything like that, but we're trying to get some answers because we're very confused about, you know, how this is all going to work and what this will mean for the citizens and for the taxpayers. That's all.
Yes, absolutely.
It's kind of like you're the entrepreneur and we're the investors. And we have to decide that if we're going to make that investment, that it has to be a viable operation and
Yes, sir.
sustainable.
Worthwhile.
Yeah. Any other, Matt?
Yes.
Yes.
One of my main concerns is that, you know, we have a letter here from Chief Hoppus that says that the Salisbury Fire Department has no intention of relinquishing any portion of this service district currently. So are we being asked for county taxpayers to fund double coverage for one area? You know, I just don't see if I can justify.
So the coverage of that area, in my interpretations, it's county, that is, there's city and there's county line, and ultimately that'll have to come down to the level here or at the executive side, wherever it may be. But county's county, and from what I've understand and my interpretation is that can't just go and take a city just can't go and take county away from you, or else they'll just take the whole county.
Right, but currently, you don't just send the volunteers out into the county and keep the city employees in the city, do you?
Say that one more time, I'm sorry?
Currently, when you guys are dispatched from the station, you don't just send the volunteers out into the county area,
No.
right? The city full-time staff goes out into the county as well?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
They have mutual aid, or are you talking about like the other jurisdictions?
from
or
the same
just
station.
Yes, so,
From
yep,
station.
correct. Yep, and this would just essentially, that station would maintain their city side, and we would continue to take care of the county side. And just, I mean, it puts another, it puts an additional ALS unit to us in the area, a paramedic in the area, especially with the call volume that can occur in the surrounding area there and within the city. So there is a lot of benefits to both.
And you have no expectation from the county that the county will pay for a building, pay for equipment?
We're not asking for, at this time, we're not asking for any additional money to get this off the ground. The only thing that, if allocated that territory by whomever powers that may be, that we get the same additional EMS funding that the other companies do within Wicomico County. But prior to July 1st, there has been no request or notions made to anybody that we want funding from the county.
Any other questions for the council? Larry?
Just to touch on Councilman Matt Holloway's question about Chief Office's statement about not relinquishing any territory. Have you discussed that with anyone?
As far, in terms of,
Getting that territory if you succeed, separate, divorce, whatever the terminology would be?
the,
'Cause I know I'm looking at all this and it looks like everything would be ran by the wire. It's cutting everything close, running the department. But the territory, you gotta have the territory.
absolutely, excuse me, and that billing is actually quite, I kind of went high on everything actually, just to make sure that everything was covered, with the exception of the income. I lost my train of thought there.
I was asking a question
Yeah,
about
say it
getting the
again.
fire district in the county. Have you discussed that with anyone? Do you think
Oh,
it's
as far as
possible?
acquiring that, as far as getting that from the city or getting, reallocating,
And
having the
I-
county reallocate
I
that
guess it
territory?
would be the fire district in the unincorporated areas.
And so so your question is, have I spoken with anybody in regards to reallocating that territory?
Yes.
The county territory? Discussions in that have only been when it was, we presented a letter to the Fire Chiefs Association in regards, and it was just it was a letter announcing our separation, that we would like to continue to run that effective July 1st,
So you
700
haven't
hours.
received any guarantees on getting that, and I can't tell you where the authority would come from giving that county district up.
Well, it's the Fire Chiefs Association that comes up with those
But I don't know where that authority is.
So, I'm going to address the council about this. So if this volunteer fire department doesn't form, then we have a city fire department that's going to be serving the county, a county area. So it would be up to this county to still fund this amount of money to the city fire department. Is that the way that would work? I
Say
mean,
that again.
I say if this fire department was not to come to fruition, if they didn't form, and this Station 1 as paid firefighters, we would be funding them instead of a county fire department. Is
I
that
guess
the
we'd
way-
have to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
We'd have to see whether or not the city would decide to try to maybe incorporate a new volunteer fire service within the Station 1. But then they may reach out and try to expand the whole new operation.
Because there is still volunteer fire departments and volunteer firemen in other fire departments in Salisbury, correct?
Yes, the companies, well, Company 2 and Sub 16.
Yeah, so there is still volunteer firemen. You mentioned building a building. Would you say, what size did you say that was?
It's a 100 by 50 foot,
So you're talking
4
another,
bays.
you're talking probably another couple $100,000
less than that,
with concrete and electric and,
just under 100, it's going to be just under $100,000.
really that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right.
I would assume that when you go to get to do the lease or the lease to purchase or whatever it might be, that you have to give them some type of numbers as far as, what your assets are, things like that. Are you including the county funding as part of those assets?
That is, we are including what we have right now and the guaranteed income that we receive, which is right now the Lacey Fund.
You're including it. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
You're saying that you are
That,
including
the
that?
Lacey Fund is included in that because that's, again, to the corporation.
Right. What about the $255 that's mentioned in your itemization?
The county funds.
The EMS fund, they are not, the person that we're working with does not, has not requested any of that actually as of yet.
So that's
So-
that's not considered as part of your assets when you're going in for
There's been no-
for any loans or for any
No, sir, not,
purchases?
not as of now, no.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So here's a question for you. Suppose that much of this funding wasn't available to you and you did get your own fire station. Have you ever done fundraising? Is that a consideration? I know a lot of volunteers do it, and it's a big struggle.
It is, and in order to do fundraising, we've kind of been limited because you have to, you can't do it on the property or anything, and before you can even try to attempt to fundraise in the city, it says in their code that you have to get permission, written permission from the fire chief for everything that you would want to do. We're very limited on what kind of fundraising can be done there. The company and its, the corporation and its members are all very well aware of the necessity to do fundraising, or are all very excited actually to start being able to do fundraising, which will begin very shortly.
What kind of fundraising have you considered?
They've different things that they've been discussed is a 5K race as a fundraiser, which generates a lot of money from sponsoring more so than actual runners. The ability to run a bingo, different bashes per se, whether it's a gun bash or an ATV bash, anything of that nature. We have reached out to a couple places to look for some sponsoring in this and obtaining cost at a lower rate for items that we would be gifting, or they would be trying to get per se.
Where does this go from here? What's the very, very, very next step? Does this have to be approved by the Fire Chiefs Association? Where does it go?
I think that the Fire Chiefs Association was kind of waiting for today to go through and just to see and hear everything that is laying out and what's moving forward. I don't want to speak on behalf of the Fire Chiefs Association,
Right.
but my presumption would be that that they would be the next step in accordance with the county council as well.
And then you would have to, your organization would have to abide by their decision, I assume.
Yes, sir.
Understood. Do you know when that decision would be made? Anytime?
Unless they call for a special meeting, it would occur the last Wednesday of the month, fourth Wednesday
Of
the
March.
month, yeah.
Good, by the end of this month. Any other questions for me? I apologize for not recognizing, but I don't think I've ever formally met you one-on-one, so.
Yes, sir.
Didn't
All
know
good.
who was standing here. Do you have any other comments you'd like to make?
Not at this time. I mean, we just want to make it publicly known that this is nothing. Some of those inaccuracies that were stated, that this was about paid positions, that this was about career staffing, has nothing to do with what this is. And I want to make that clear that we respect a lot of the guys, and 99% of them, I'd like to say 100, but 99% of them, we respect them. We've worked alongside of them for years, and it's unfortunate that this is what has had to come to blow as a neglect of wanting to sit down with us from the administration side of the department to go to mediation. It's just a very unfortunate situation that has unfolded, and sometimes when things go unanswered, they just continue to grow and boil.
Understood. Well, we appreciate you agreeing to meet with us. We'd like to thank you for taking your time. And with that being said, any other comments from council? That will conclude the work session. We appreciate it very
Thanks, sir.
much. At this time, for the legislative session, this opens the floor for public comments. If anybody would have public comments, they could come to the podium and state your name and your concern. The limitation is for 3 minutes. Mrs. Hurley will be timing that if there's anyone that would like to make any comments whatsoever. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Eric Kramer, 28525 Glastonbury Drive, Wicomico County. I pay off a lot of, I work for the city, but I also pay off a lot of county taxes. And I know you guys are always trying to be good stewards of my money, but I just want to remind you guys, this city fire station on Beagle and Park Drive is, I can walk 15 steps and I'm in the county. It's full of modern equipment. We have modern staff that works hand in hand with the volunteers. And to go out and now start to fund an extra, one more fire department in this county, to me is an insane use of my tax money. And we already have the modern equipment and the staffing.
Thank you, Mr. Kramer. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Anthony Webster, Salisbury Fire Department, also looking to buy, hopefully, a house over here at Nutter's. I was thinking about a lot of different arguments you could have. I've volunteered for 25 years at Station 7, past president. We volunteer for a town because we volunteer for a town. Volunteers argue all the time because that's what we do. But we don't turn our back on town, try to start another station, and all this stuff. It comes down to one thing, being responsible. You got to be responsible for citizens of the county. I've got 4 daughters, and I want to work, and I happen to be wanting to buy a house over Nutter's. And it almost reminds me of my daughter trying to explain to me how she's going to make a car payment when she doesn't have a job. That's what it reminds me of. We've got something, to tell a citizen you've got some professional people that respond to your calls or staff 24/7, and you're going to replace it with something you're not really sure it's going to work, not really sure how the equipment's going to go, not really sure how the funding's going to go. Why would any reasonable person even think about that? And that's really what comes to my mind. There's so many different directions we could go with this, but bottom line, that's what I think. Just being responsible for the citizens and try to explain to them why you're going to try to replace something that may or may not work. And that's really what I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webster.
My name is Mark Cotter, 5676 Spinnaker Drive, Salisbury 21801. I come to you as a former president of the Wicomico County Volunteer Firefighters Association. And in that, I have a lot of experience with the county council, and I want to thank you for all the fire departments for the support that you've shown us over the years. And it's because of the support we get from the county council and the county taxpayers that we have the great fire and EMS system that we have now. I appreciate having this forum. We had lots of questions, and Mr. Polidor answered lots of those. Lots of it was news to us, particularly the issue about the Deputy Chief of Volunteers. I have been an officer of the Salisbury Fire Department Incorporated Station 16 for the last 10 years or so, and never did it come to us that there was a concern about needing to elect the Deputy Chief of Volunteers, who, by the way, as Deputy Chief Lee Smith is a member of Station 1, and or had been until he transferred to Station 16 in the current climate. I am a volunteer, or had been until I retired this year. I'm still a life member. And if you look around this room, you'll see lots of people in uniform, and you can't tell us apart. Unless you know us, you can't tell the difference between a volunteer and a career member of the Salisbury Fire Department. And that goes more than just the uniform, because the Salisbury Fire Department is unique as a combination department in letting its members operate to the maximum of their abilities. If you have the training and the certification, you can do anything that the department does. So as a chief officer, I had command of the city of Salisbury, or the Salisbury Fire District, from time to time. I was able to drive any apparatus we have. They supported me in getting my commercial driver's license. I was an officer on fire apparatus. I might be sitting in the right front seat where the officer sits and making the decisions, but the other 3 or 4 personnel on the apparatus were career members. And that's unique in that the city of Salisbury, it's unusual that they allow the volunteers that much authority. And it just is a great example of the respect that they show the volunteers. And one of the things that's bothered me about this whole conflict is that it's been viewed by some as a conflict between the city and the volunteers. And the reality is this is a conflict within the Salisbury Fire Department. And yes, there are majority volunteers on the one side, but there are plenty of volunteers on the other side. And there's plenty of us that support the methods and the position of the Salisbury Fire Department and the city of Salisbury. And again, I want to thank you for your support over the years, and thank you for this forum.
Thank you, Mr. Cotter. Any other public comments?
My name is Walter Townsend, 420 South Boulevard, Salisbury, Maryland, 21801. Current president of Salisbury Fire Department Incorporated. I just want to use a little analogy here to help kind of clear things up here. The fire and service and EMS is a service industry similar to plumbing and HVAC. Let's say you own a large HVAC and plumbing business that's been around for a long time. You handle 65% of the service in your region. You have your territory divided in thirds with 2 crews in each to service your customers. Your customers have come to expect prompt and quality service. Recently, some of your crews have not been performing to your company and industry standards. You tried helping them improve because you have a lot of equipment, training, and time invested in them. But you have to adjust your other crews to correct their shortfalls. This one crew feels that they are not a problem and hires a lawyer to communicate with you on how they want to change your business. Then they decide that they can do it better, which often happens. You train and you learn and you go out and compete. And decide that they can do better and send you a notice via the press that they will be leaving your business in 4 months. When they go, they will take the territory and customers they were serving from you, which equals about 25% of your business. Their company name will be very similar to yours, and they hope the customers won't notice until this new service contract comes due again, and it's been increased drastically. What would you do as a business owner, each of you? Would you allow them to continue working for you and to take 25% of your business? Is it fair to the customers to allow them to do this to them? It's a similar situation. If you break it down as a business, this is what they're asking to do. And a good business person would not keep that and allow that to happen. We have gained, currently in the Station 16, some of their members, some older members coming back wanting to participate as well, seeing what's going on. Currently, we should have our membership numbers up to about 60 in the next 60 days. After going through the process, service has not changed. We still work with the city. We still support the city. And we staff the equipment no matter which station it's out of. I worked out of Station 1 many times over this past 6 months. I've worked over at Station 2, and I've served the community wherever it's needed. We don't pick territories. We don't pick, it's my station, I got to run out of here. The volunteer services always have difficulty in this current season because of demands of training and so forth, and requirements that are not brought upon by the city. It's by the regulations and insurance for liability purposes. So now, yes, a guy who wants to join or a gal who wants to join, they've got 365 hours of training that they need to do to be a safe liability to that department. The process is improving, and we're getting better and better, getting the members in and getting them through and in the system and active faster. And I don't see how they can improve the service if they can't do the service from the station that they already have, how they can improve it from somewhere else within the county district. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Townsend.
Good afternoon, Eric Tyler, 7710 Broadleaf Drive, Parsonsburg, Maryland. Here's the Fire Chief of Parsonsburg Fire Company. Our membership has a lot of concerns with the situation as we do border Station 1's area. For years, we have worked side by side with both the career and volunteer members of Salisbury Fire Department and have no issue with either side. Great working relationship on all incidents. Some of the concerns that we have as a department that can directly or indirectly affect us as well as other companies in the county consist of the few questions here. Will the services provided, if they become independent, be of equal or better quality than what's provided now? Will the mutual aid provided be of equal or better quality to the surrounding companies of what's provided now? Currently, that mutual aid has been affected. The city decided, due to the situation, that they have moved the engine tanker from Station 1. That is a piece that we rely on coming to help us when dispatched, and we've had to take action to change our dispatch procedures to take care of missing that piece of equipment right now. We also question what effects will this have on our company, on our company's call volume. Will an entity decide that they want to take some of our response area away from us? Most importantly, our county appropriations. By dividing this up further, potentially, how will that affect us and our operation? So I leave you with those questions. They're questions that we'd like to have answers to in the long term before we can form any opinion. Other than that, we remain in a neutral position. We don't have any details from either side. We wish everyone well and taking care of this problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tyler. Any other public comments?
Hello, Eric Johnson, 29985 Rolling Meadows Road. That's inside the area of Nutter subdivision. It's the area they'd like to provide territory to. I'm also a career member at Salisbury Fire Department. I've been working there for over 13 years now. I've also volunteered for Allen Fire Department, Mardella Fire Department. I've worked part-time at almost over half the companies in Wicomico County Fire Department. When we were looking for a house, we didn't look for Salisbury's fire territory versus Allen's territory or any other territory. We were comfortable, I would be comfortable living in Allen's territory versus Salisbury because Allen Volunteer Fire Department has something in common with Salisbury Volunteer Fire Department. They are concerned about their community and providing services to their community. Judging by the fact that just due to the fact that there's only one corporation up here out of the 3 Salisbury volunteer corporations that want to separate and run away from the city, and only a portion of their volunteers. Some of the Station 1 volunteers have joined the other two. So only some of the volunteers at one of the stations have decided to leave. That shows you there's not a desire of the city to get rid of the volunteers. It looks a lot like, from where I work with them and run with them, and a lot of county firefighters, it looks a lot to be more like their egos and not their concern for the territory and their concern for providing services. And that's what I'm worried about, being in the district that they want to provide services to. I really don't want someone who's worried about mostly about their ego and being able to operate the way they want to operate, running my emergency services. I want people who are concerned about their community or the pride of the way they provide the services, not their egos. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Good morning, Council, and grateful to be here with you this morning. My name is Rick Hoppus. I am the Fire Chief of the City of Salisbury Fire Department. I live at 5325 Wastgate Road in the town of, some would call it Wongo. We'll call it Parsonsburg because that's what it is. I'm grateful to be here with you. I'm grateful to see that everybody who has shown support for the fire service in Wicomico County today have shown up here today. I just have a few items that I'd like to address relating to Mr. Polidor's comments that I think just need some clarification, at least from my perspective and my side. So I appreciate the opportunity to come before you with those. Relating to what Mr. Polidor has disclosed as the main issue of the city or the city's fire chief and the fire department to listen to their concerns and then to address their concerns is a little unfounded. For the last time that this group of volunteers met with the mayor and myself was November of 2015. There have been any opportunities for them to call me if I'm the problem, which some would say I am, but if I'm the problem, every opportunity has been afforded to them to contact the mayor directly or their councilman directly. At no time have we received any of those comments other than just a series of personal meetings with them where they voiced their concerns, and for that I'm appreciative that they were able to voice their concerns. However, to say that the city has refused to meet with them is disingenuous. The city did refuse formal mediation at this time and refused to meet with attorneys because we felt like there's a lot of distance between working out our differences one-on-one and personally and then to get to formal mediation. That's all the city was saying. Our position is we're happy to meet, we're happy to discuss it. We won't do it with lawyers and we won't do it with mediation until such time that would be the only avenue for success. But until that time, we would not do that. So that's the from this side of the table, that's the remarks I would have for there. Regarding Mr. Polidor's comments about the city not following its own code as it relates to withdrawal of recognition. The code is very clear about what the city does if it wishes to withdraw its recognition for one of its recognized and duly recognized volunteer fire companies. And Mr. Polidor clearly espoused what that code says. He was correct. What the code does not cover is when one of those volunteer companies decides it wants to leave. It has nothing in the code regarding what policies or procedures to follow when that occurs. So this is new territory. Relating to the lockout and the refusal for us to let them respond, I must tell you that what an unfortunate series of events have transpired to get us to that point. And I'm truly sorry that we had to get to this point. But in order to explain it, I'd have to use an analogy for you. If and many of you are executives in business and at least served in capacities and will understand that. I'm going to try to make it an example that most people would understand. If an employee that had full unfettered access to your accounts, your operating systems, your buildings, your assets, your equipment, if an employee determined that he or she was going to give their notice, 2 weeks notice, 4-month notice in this case, and they had all of that unfettered access to really do some significant damage to your organization, most private industries would escort them, once they gave their notice, would escort them to their office with a box, had them empty their desk of their personal belongings and escort them out of the building, accepting their resignation effective immediately. That clearly wasn't our intent. What happened the night of their resignation from the city of Salisbury was that members showed up at somewhere starting around 9 o'clock and were removing things from the building. We weren't about to go through an exercise at 9 or 10 at night to discuss who owned what, when, and where. There was time to do that. In the middle of the night was not that time. At that time, we did make the decision to lock the building down. My responsibility as a fire chief is to protect the assets that both county and city taxpayers have paid for and do so in a way that I thought is in the best approach. That's what transpired in order to get us to where we are. And I will tell you that I am disappointed it had to get to this point. But I think from my perspective, it was the right thing to do to let calmer heads and calmer times prevail before we start making drastic decisions. But unfortunately, we had to get there. Mr. Polidor did correctly reference the National Fire Protection Agency's standard on combination of volunteer fire services and protection, specifically reference to NFPA 1720. He did correctly reference the 9-minute assemblage of an effective firefighting force time. That is a correct assessment. However, the accusation that the use of turnout times and travel times is disingenuous to accomplishing that 9-minute goal is incongruous at best. In order to arrive at the scene with an effective firefighting force, you have to turn out, which means you have to get on the rig and start responding, and there has to be a specific number of travel time. If you'll look at the statistics that you have been provided, Council, and specifically with regards to the turnout time for our station, for station number 1, even at 7 minutes, the best they could do is about 74%. So even for that fire at Parkside High School, a 2-minute response time, that's great. But that's not, the fire at Parkside High School is not what we're talking about. It's every other event that we're talking about. So the accusation of manipulating statistics is unfounded. I'd be happy to sit with anyone and share how we arrived at our performance metrics. I'm very confident in how we're measuring our performance, and I think what we're doing is the right thing to do to make sure that our citizens are aware that this is the level of service we're capable of providing, and we're striving every day to improve it. I just wanted to make that clear because there are no manipulation of statistics. And then reference to ISO, Mr. Cannon was very articulate in questioning the ISO rating and how it affects it. However, the response is a little demonstrates a lack of understanding about what the ISO rating system does. The ISO rating system is for individual fire service jurisdictions or areas, and it rates 3 categories. It rates the 911 center and their ability to process calls. It rates a fire department's ability to provide a significant or enough water to a target structure within that facility over a 20-minute time period, and it rates their staffing and their ability to train and be ready for those calls. It has nothing to do whether your neighbor has an ISO rating or not. It only has to do with the fire service jurisdiction's rating. The citizens of Wicomico County, because of our relationship in the Salisbury Fire Department, we enjoy an ISO rating of 4. And in the county portion of our fire service district, which includes what the fire station company number 1 would like to have a part of, the county residents receive a benefit of the ISO rating of a 4 for the city of Salisbury because we're able to provide the municipal water supply. We have the personnel, tools, equipment, training, all of that necessary to support the county portion of our fire district. So the county residents of our fire district, which includes that county portion that we're talking about, receives the benefit of the city of Salisbury's ISO rating as if it were 1. So to say that the ISO rating won't change if a new fire department is stood up and a district is given is not correct. Now the ISO will have to come in and do a rating for that jurisdiction, but at this point they would not then share the same ISO rating that they currently share. The final thing I'd like to say, or there are 2 things I'd like to say. Mr. Holloway asked the question about an additional EMS unit. In order for there not to be an additional stipend coming from the county to pay for an additional EMS unit, you would have to take that money from an entity, right? Or else it would be an increase. Taking it from the city of Salisbury, obviously, is council and council executive's choice. You could do that. You could make the decision to do that. But you would be reducing that EMS service to whatever portion of that county district you would want to receive. So in order to avoid increasing the stipends, you would have to take it away from someone else. Goes to Chief Tyler's remarks from Parsonburg. Same response. And then finally, what I will tell you is, on behalf of the mayor of the city of Salisbury and the council who have authorized me to say these things, what I would tell you is we're very excited to be so close to a fire service agreement. While I'm not privy to all of the negotiations, what I can tell you is that they're very confident and comfortable that the fire service agreement that they are very close to striking is a win-win for the county and the city, and they're excited about doing that. So I express to you our appreciation for your patience and for your, and we understand that you have a lack of information, and we're here to give it to you. And that's kind of why we're here today and have shown up today, but we're appreciative of the opportunity. Unless council has questions for me, I'll take my seat.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Corey Mitchell, 5708 Archie Jones Road. You have to excuse the nervousness. I'm not a public speaker. Also a humble employee of the City of Salisbury Fire Department. My question slash comment. It appears to me that none of this process has been cheap, i.e. there's lawyers involved. I say we, the Station 1 volunteers, or what used to be at this point, want to start a new process. At the end of this, whatever the final decision is made, whether there becomes an additional fire service, i.e. station, and or whether this all goes away into thin air and the Salisbury Fire Department continues a great service to that area as it does already, who is going to reimburse myself as a taxpayer, along with everyone else in this room, the money that's already been used? In that question, obviously I don't want to receive a check for any of this, but I want to see that money put back into whatever account it was taken from and used properly. I think that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Any other public comments? Seeing none. Council comments? Councilman Hall?
No, I'm good.
You good? Okay. Under presidential comments, I'd like to thank all the people that responded to this situation through many emails that I received over the last few days. I'd also like to thank all the firefighters that are here today, paid, volunteered. I'd like to thank every one of you. You are an invaluable asset to the city of Salisbury and to Wicomico County, and we honestly cannot thank you enough for your service and your dedication. Second of all, I'd like to thank you for being here today, because this is sort of a continuation of your dedication, because you're concerned about your community as well, and that's why you're taking time out to be here today, and we do appreciate that as well. And would like you to know that we do assure you that we'll take all the discussions that we've heard today, all the comments that we've heard today, into careful consideration when we deliberate and in the future with this subject, with the budget, and any other issues that might come up in relation to this particular topic. Again, thank everybody for their comments. I'd like to thank everybody for being here today. With that being said, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn so that we can go into a closed session.
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's carried. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.
Take a 5 minute.
We'll take 5 minutes.